So Steven Stamp, Inside Lacrosse, IL Indoor editor and author. Wow, does it get any more exciting than this as we go into the finals?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, we had a really good semifinals weekend, then a weekend off, which I don't think it was ideal for anyone. I think everyone would have liked to have kept rolling, but it's the same for everybody. And we're going to look at some highlights of those semifinals as we prepare for this Buffalo versus Albany David and Goliath battle, which I will point out that Buffalo is adamant that they're the underdogs. Steve Criollo was on the call yesterday, the media call, and I asked him, or someone asked him, like, "Hey, you guys have been saying you're underdogs." He's like, "Oh yeah, of course we are. I mean, they beat us twice. They finished ahead of us. They have home field advantage. Like, yeah, for sure, they'd be the favorites, right?" And I was like, "Okay." And then I asked John Tavares the same thing. I said, "Hey, Pre was really adamant that you guys are underdogs, so that Albany's favorite." He's like, "Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?" I'm like, because you're the defending champions and you're on a roll. He's like, yeah, they're playing really well too. So I think most people see this as the youngest lineup in the league with all the rookies in that. But I mean, Alex Simmons and Ty Kirsch aren't exactly playing like rookies, but it's a great matchup. I think it's going to be terrific games, and I can't wait to see them.
Absolutely. And one thing I mean everybody likes to talk about is essentially they're 25-year-old rookies though. They played
Yeah,
juniors. They're so they are young men, but I think you explained it perfectly. I like to when I was talking with Paul about this, it's really the old guard with Matt Vince and those guys. I was talking to Zach Belter and I said, between the top 5 guys, you have a century's worth of the top level lacrosse experience. It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing veteran crew with Priolo and Vince and John Tavares leading the way and Steve Dietrich behind the bench. I mean, you've had such a group, and then you've got the guy. I mean, like Josh Byrne is a veteran. Hard to believe, right? He still seems so new, but we're going to look at him as our uncommon highlight. And this is from the Friday game one of the semis. And you see this, and Nick Rose immediately says, "Oh, that's no good," right? Because look, his left foot comes down in the crease, right? But does it? If his left foot touches down here, that's no goal because that's before the ball even leaves his stick. But watch what his left foot does. He lifts it up. He's walking on air. He lifts his left foot so he doesn't step. This is a great angle. I think there's a Twitter view that we can look at that's even better. But look at his foot's coming down. He pulls it up because he knows it's going to be in the crease. Right here, he pulls the foot up. It doesn't touch the turf. They didn't really get into this. It looks like it does there, but we're going to see some views where you see he doesn't touch the turf. That's why this goal stands, because it gets in and there it's going in. It's his right foot that winds up coming down. This is astonishing by Josh Byrne. And I don't think the announcers in the game noticed it. John Abbott and Pat Gregoire are calling it, and it's hard to pick up. It takes a bit to really notice this, but it is an astonishing play. It is such an uncommon play by an uncommon athlete. Like Josh Byrne, to me, right now, at this moment, this week, is the best lacrosse player on the planet,
I
and
don't
he
know
is
how
playing.
I don't know how you don't watch this and just any type of athlete is just in awe. His foot's going that way and he just stops it midair
Yeah,
and puts it down. So I think when they were talking about it, they said maybe the only challenge was when did it go over the goal line?
yeah,
Because if it hit him there, you've got an argument. But like they said during the call, it was inconclusive because they didn't see that. And so it's basically
yeah,
when this foot goes down. But wow, what even if it wasn't, what an athletic play. And I'm glad it was because here's the call from the refs. They're gonna say, good
yeah.
goal. Because wow, that one is one for the record books. Here comes that Josh Byrne highlight from Twitter you were talking about.
Here we go. You can see it there. Look at that. It lifts the foot up, doesn't let it touch down. I mean, I, there are a lot of very good athletes who, if they did this, would fall down. And I mean, look at that. You can see it right there. You can see the shadow underneath. That's a great shot, a great pause, because you can see the shadow. There's the gap between the shadow and the foot. That's conclusive that it never touches down. Now, the reason
Wow.
again is because the ball goes in, it bounces and hits Rose, and you're not clear when it crosses the line. So did his right foot come down before it got all the way over? I think it did. I think it's pretty clear, but it's conclusive with that shot that his left foot did not touch. He was walking on air.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. So, uncommon highlight on a team filled with uncommon men, really some legends of the sport. Huge shout out to Jamie Plunkett for helping us out with this, getting us some sweet gear. Check out all the retro jerseys. There's links in the description for everything. It's yeah, huge shout out to him for getting us going on this, and huge shout out to the athletes because what a crazy play this. Oh my goodness, we're lucky to watch it. And as I go, I mean, I'm a Firewolf season ticket holder. Anybody watching this probably knows, but I would say that just to watch good lacrosse plays, I always find myself cheering. And when the Bandits come into town, it's hard not to cheer for Buffalo.
Yeah.
They've got such an entertaining style of play.
Yeah, and I don't cheer for any team. I just cheer for the game, and remain neutrality as someone writing and covering the league and announcing. But it's impossible not to cheer for plays and players who make these. And that Josh Byrne play, unbelievable. We're gonna have more of him pretty soon. This week, the Uncommon Fit jersey is a throwback to the 1974 National Lacrosse League. This is the Toronto Tomahawks. It is a beauty. There was just a season or two that league lasted. It was populated by folks like John Grant Sr. and Jim Wasson were absolute stars with the Philadelphia Wings back then. This Tomahawks jersey was a team that played out of Maple Leaf Gardens for a season, and then the next year they were sold to a group in Long Island. Actually, we're going to play at the Nassau Coliseum where the Islanders were, but then that wound up not happening. They went, I think, to Boston and became the Bolts. And then the Rochester Griffins became the Rochester Tomahawks. There's a whole lot. I can't remember all the history of the 74 NLL, but there was a lot going on, and this was one of the very cool jerseys from that era that Jamie Plunkett and Uncommon Fit are doing throwbacks. I wanted to look at a goal that didn't count and probably should have. And in that game, it wound up being 12-4 is the final score. So you think, wow, what difference does it make? But here's a goal. Toronto's on the offense. Tom Schreiber's going to take this shot. Chris Boucher kind of gets himself in some trouble because he runs down toward the crease and he actually steps into the crease. Boucher's in the middle there. He sets that pick. He runs down and just right into the crease. He's in, and then he gets his feet back out. Zach Belter makes a great play here. Zach Belter is the one who follows him all the way down from up near the National Lacrosse League sign to give Boucher a push and force him back into the crease. But the thing is, Boucher, I'm quite confident, reestablished his feet outside the crease. On the broadcast, I know they did say, hey, they can't challenge because they'd already used their challenge and it was ineffective. It was overturned. So they don't have the challenge to use, but they did. They could have, Matt Sawyer could have challenged this goal. If they were wrong, if this challenge didn't hold up, they would have been charged a penalty because they didn't have a timeout. But they could have thrown the flag because they still did have another flag. Again, it's a 12-4 game, but this changes it from a goal for Toronto that would have made it 3-1 to, if we run it, they go down the other end and you have Buffalo score Chris Kluche on a terrific play. As Toronto's confused.
I got a
What's
question.
going on here, right?
Yeah, I got a question for you on this actually,
Yeah,
because now I've
yeah,
got it with the pause. So as we're looking at it, so right
yeah,
here, when the ball goes in the net, his
yes,
feet are outside of the crease, is what you're saying. So that's
yes.
reestablishing, right?
Yes. So he'd gone into the crease. He has to establish both feet back outside the crease. Now, on this one, it's hard to say because it's pretty small on the view, but it looks like there. That's better because you can see his right foot was up, but he goes in of his own volition. He's not even pushed in, but then he gets both feet back outside, just barely and not for long, but he is outside when the ball goes in, and then Belter pushes him back in. I think Belter pushing him in made it enough for the ref for it to be really hard in real time for the official to tell whether he was back out or if he'd gone in again, because there's a lot happening with the Schreiber shooting, the ball going in, Boucher's feet, the push. There's a lot happening, a lot of movement, and Belter made it hard enough for the official. Now, I think as a coach, you're like, do I use my second challenge 4 minutes into the game, right? Um, it's
But it's less than a second too, so they didn't have time to even think
yeah.
about it. That would have had to have been an instantaneous. That's why I just
Well,
rewound it and looked at it again. So
so the
that
thing to me is as soon as Cloutier scores, you throw the flag. And the heck with it, because that's a 2-goal swing, right? Because if it's reviewed, if the Schreiber goal counts, then obviously the Cloutier goal can't because it happened afterwards. So it's a 3-1 game. So to me, like you see them looking at it and they're like, I don't know. I throw the flag as soon as Coach K scores. If I think that it was good, maybe they don't. I mean, they're looking at it. You can see Dan Craig is like, yeah, I think maybe we should challenge that, and they decide not to. They've got the iPad there. They have a good look. But again, like you said, it's got to be a pretty quick decision. This is a great angle. Look at Bushi goes in, both feet out right there. They're both touching the carpet.
And the
That's
ball's
Schreiber
right
shoots.
here. So
Yeah.
yeah, the ball is not in the yeah, no, but like you said, real time, it's crazy. But no, I actually
Yeah.
was kind of arguing it on the looking from the other angle, but that's a great angle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. That's a good goal. And it's tough, right? Again, and you can see Toronto, they're celebrating. They see it. They take off really quickly. Now, should everyone have run to the bench except for Matthews? Maybe not. Maybe Schreiber takes off, but they see the call. It's a turnover. They hit to the bench because they're pretty close. I don't think you can really fault any of them in that situation. I mean, it's easy to say after, oh, somebody else had to run back. It can't just be Matthews, whoever's highest. But I mean, they did the best they could in the circumstance. I think it's just an unfortunate one for Toronto, and again, it was a 12-4 game, right? So does that make a difference if it's 3-1? Just the whole tenor and the whole way the game plays out change?
The momentum
I
and
don't know.
everything kind of that is such a huge goal though because
Yeah,
3-1 a 2 goal versus 4-0 and now you're
yeah,
looking at it 4 goals is hard to come back from. Two
yeah.
happens all the
Maroon was up.
time. Yeah.
And Buffalo played awfully well, and they got a lot of confidence. And I mean, they're a confident team. They're playing very well, and they absolutely deserve to win that game and the series. Um, it's just one of those things you think about what might have been.
All right, and getting into this next game. So Nick Rose was less of a factor than I anticipated. When your offense can't score, it doesn't matter how good your goalie is.
Yeah, I mean, you score 4 goals. What are you going to do, right? And Nick Rose only gave up 8 goals. That series was not on Nick Rose. He's still goalie of the year in my opinion, and I think the league's going to announce that shortly. Maybe by the time this comes out, I mean the awards are being posted, but
Oh, I forgot I had this one at the start of it. This is Danico diving across. What I am curious. So, what are your thoughts on this?
why it's not a penalty?
Yeah.
Not a clue.
Okay. That's what I was thinking as well.
Like holy cow, that could be a major. To be honest, I don't think he meant to do it, but you dive right into the goalie's leg. Like that's to me, that's at least a minor. It could be called a major, and then review it, and it would probably hold up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, easily. I was like, what is going on? But somehow I got back on those highlights again.
Okay, yeah,
All right, so sorry about that. I had us a little screwed up here. We are starting with I know one of your favorite parts of box lacrosse, these never-ending
love it.
face-offs.
You gotta love the 34-second face-off battle, right? Or 30. Like this is ridiculous. Honestly, Nick Casello was talking about it on the broadcast. I mean, here we have Joe Nardella and Trevor Baptiste, both great face-off guys. But look at this. It's just a bunch of guys standing around. Nardella and Baptiste just pushing and shoving. At one point, Nardella just starts to get shoved. Baptiste is so strong, he's actually pushing Nardella backwards. Look at that. He's just shoving him backwards. Nardella's super strong. He fights back. Look at that. It's still going. The NLL put a tweet out with it, and they had a countdown timer. So I think it was 34 seconds of nothing happening. So boring.
Could you imagine losing the game on a face-off like that, 30 seconds left, and the guy just clamps it for 30 seconds?
Yeah. Yeah, and there is one, at the end of the game when San Diego's down by a couple, as they're coming back, there were some of those really long extended battles that ate up like a third of what was remaining in the game. And it's unbelievable to me that there's got to be some way. I don't know what the rule is. I don't know what the fix is. I talked about this in my column, but and you can see how tired they are. I mean, Trevor Baptiste, when he stands up, he's just exhausted.
That's why, I mean, and he's a special kind of athlete, and he's
Oh,
exhausted. It's like a wrestling match. But
he's
no,
unbelievable. Yeah,
Can-Am has a rule. If you clamp it and don't move it, it's on you, and the other team gets possession.
yeah. And I mean, if the two of them are sitting there digging in, like in the summer, what they do is they pick one at the beginning, they just pick away and blow it. If there's an extended battle, you just blow it down, give it to one team. The next time there's one, it goes to the other team. I don't think that's the way to go, because then when you get down to a minute and a half left in 1 or 2 goal game, then there's actually a really important face-off. I mean, face-offs. I know there's the face-offs matter crowd who are like, oh, like they love to. call up like when there's a big face off, a minute and a half left in the game, and they'll say, "Oh, but face offs don't matter, right?" It's like, no, they don't, except for that one. Like
That's why
there's no correlation between winning face-offs and winning games. It doesn't actually help you. Um, you can lose 80% of the face-offs and still win the game, as long as you're the better team. So
I
would
say
you rather win the face-off than lose it? Of course you would. And I love the face-off loose ball battles when the ball comes out. I think I love seeing that physical aspect of the game, but I hate the extended face-offs. I know some people like them. I'm not sure why, but
I
yeah,
like
no, it's not something I enjoy. And Nick Castella's obviously there with me, and yeah, I say just get on with the game.
No, I can say I enjoy it, but where I say Nardella shines as a face-off guy is those high pressure ones. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's not, and he's gotten so good at defense. I don't know if it's just
Oh
this year, the team around him, but to me, I think he is the most improved defensive player of the year as somebody who watches all the Albany games. He went
yeah.
from a solid defender before his knee injury
Yes.
to a top, I think he's in your top 20, I would say.
Yeah, I mean I think he's a lock for Team USA, or
Oh,
should be for the Worlds.
absolutely.
He's your face-off guy, defender. He is. I mean, he and Jake Withers are the two best face-off guys in terms of overall players, and they're also great on the actual draw percentages. But I mean, Nardella, like Glenn Clark says, there are no limits on him. He's out there killing penalties for the Firewolves and doing a good job of it.
Withers
So yeah,
takes a
no,
lot of
Nardella's a
penalties
huge
for,
factor.
and Withers takes plenty of penalties for Halifax. So that is
He does.
definitely something that I really, as I watched more and more this year, I
Oh
became
yeah,
less of a Withers fan, and I was strengthened in my Nardella just because I think
yeah.
when you're in those tight games, you can't take stupid penalties.
Well, it's in the Halifax DNA. They do that a lot. I mean, and
It's
and Wiz is fantastic. I think he's an amazing, amazing player. He's got a lot of Peterborough in him. As a person from Peterborough, I can say that we do stupid stuff, and he's going to be suspended, I guess, for the start of next year for some of the stuff that happened in the end of their game. And of course, Austin Stotts is gone for probably half of next season. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but I think about half of next year he's going to be suspended. But let's watch a really great play here by Patrick Kaschak. And this is one of, I think, the underrated transition players in the league. They basically make a Kaschak sandwich with the two San Diego Seals running into him here, and he fights his way through, gets this ball, it's coming. He sees Merrill coming, doesn't see the other guy coming, but he just hangs on to it and has the wherewithal to catch Jackson Nishimura on the run for a breakaway chance. Nishimura doesn't score, so you don't wind up seeing this a whole lot because obviously, the highlight reels are going to have the goals. But this is a huge play by Patrick Kaschak and why he's one of the best transition players in the league that tends to get overlooked a bit. But no, he's fantastic. And all these little things that Albany is doing is how you win games. And this is from some younger guys. I mean, Kaschak's in his second year in the league, right? Second or third, second, I think.
second.
So, that's not a veteran player. Again, these guys are coming into the league at 22, 23, 24, with the pandemic extra years of eligibility in college and stuff. But what a play. And then we're going to take another look at another similar play, but this is just a smart play by a rookie. This is a rookie making this play. Ty Kurtz is already back. He's the farthest Firewolf back, right? That's him right there. Travis Longboat, number 9 on the other side. That's two forwards have come back. Now, Albany's on the power play. You can get away with it. But look at Zach Young, 24. He comes in. He's like, oh, my goodness. Ty is on Austin Stocks. Now, Wagner's there, number 77, to back him up. But Zach Young has been so good for them. And he comes in and just takes over covering Austin Stotts and lets Kurtz just go and play. That's what you want your forward to do if he's back on D, is just go pick somebody up away from the ball or be up at the top, be ready to take off. You don't want him defending in a high pressure area against Austin Stotts. And that's just a great play that you barely notice, but what a play by Zach Young.
Yeah, and then followed up, that's Travis Longbow on the end of that, making sure that the rebound isn't picked up. And I think that is such a huge part of that Albany team.
Yeah.
Like you said, they have just such great lacrosse players. Like Alex Simmons will go back on defense. You see, he's one of those guys too, and he's a pretty physical player, so he will
Yeah.
intentionally stay back, in the first guy, whether it's close or not, but he will go and they can all body up. But like you said, to see
Yeah.
the defense switching off, the IQ of the Firewolves is what has really impressed me this year with how young they are.
Yeah, and playing as a team. I mean, it's such a team. Everyone talks about the offense, absolutely, but the defense works as a unit so impressively, and it makes a huge difference. And then this is the Tchaikovsky play, right? He's down in the crease. He's the
Yep.
alternate captain there, the end, the chest number 22, both feet in the crease. He is going to actually block this shot. And you and I went over this to see. Here's a shot from Trey Leclerc, and Tchaikovsky gets his stick on it. And you are the one who I was like, does he block this? And you slowed it down. And you say, yep, look at that, gets his stick on it and
Completely
knocks it
changes
away.
directions.
Yeah. And then the play keeps going. It bops into the crease. He picks it up. Here, he takes a look, sees what's there. There's two guys behind him. There's a bunch of people ahead of him. He's going to run out of the crease and just fight through a whole mess of San Diego Seals. Zipping and zipping. Whoop, 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 and up he goes over center, tosses it across very safely to John Wagner, and draws a penalty from Eli Gobrecht. And San Diego took a bunch of penalties in that game. And, I mean, it wasn't just Austin Stotts, although he was obviously the primary culprit, but, they took a bunch of penalties. And that's an avoidable penalty. You just don't need to take. That's some frustration with, and Albany will do that to you. I mean, everybody's trying to get Tchaikovsky and strip him of the ball, and he's just such a beast coming out of the zone, and then very calmly flips it over to Wagner and just heads to the bench. And, yeah, I love that play.
I
I
think
love those
that's
little plays.
I think that's a huge part of for Albany to win this series, they have to get under the skin of the Bandits. It's something that is
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's easily done, but I mean, if you've watched any Bandits games, you know it's fairly easily done and you can get those Bandits. But it's a double-edged sword because sometimes you get those guys fired up and now they go on a
Yeah.
6-goal run or who
Yeah.
knows. I mean, they
Yeah.
have, when you talk about offensive talent, like you said, Josh Byrne, I mean, I don't think there's a huge argument against him for being the best lacrosse player right now on the floor. I mean, athletically, what he's doing, he shoots better than Dane does as far as that goes, and he's just
Yeah.
I don't know, watching him live, just the way he covers the floor and sees it, and that's where you really appreciate some of those no looks and stuff. And we're going to get into it a
Yeah.
little bit as we go on to the next game, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Are we going to
both
go through all six of them or look at the one first? What do you want to do?
we can skip right past that next. Yeah, we can do all six. I'll get right
Let's
to
do
the
it.
end of it. Okay.
So in the second the Toronto at Buffalo game, second game of the series, and Toronto gets ahead. Toronto plays very well, and then Buffalo just
Oh,
happens all over them in the fourth quarter. 6-goal run, 6 unanswered goals. Josh Byrne in on every one of them, scores a couple, has 4 assists, and just watch these plays. I mean, we go through them. You've got them all clipped together, right?
oh yeah, no,
8-4, 13 minutes to play. If you're a Toronto fan, you're thinking, hey, this is pretty good. And then this little shot by Chase Fraser, who, I mean, he just scored 3 goals in the game. He didn't do a ton else, but man, those are big goals, right? Like he just has a knack for scoring huge goals. And this one gets them rolling. Yeah, it's 8-5. If you're Toronto, you're like, no, it's okay. Um,
yeah, we've got Nick Rose. We should be able to beat this, guys.
we're fine. We've got
We
a good
can handle
defense. We've
this.
got Mitch Snew and Brad Cree and things. And then,
But that's you just watch Burn. Sorry, I the only reason I kept that angle is you watch how Burn just really pulls the defense out in a way and really
yes,
opens that space for Fraser to be able to come in, stutter step like he's going to shoot, and by the time Desnu gets up there, it's too late. Like I was telling you off the air, that shot is so fast, slow motion couldn't pick up his stick.
okay, so yeah, so DeHogan Nanticoke, a nice little spin. He is so solid. I mean, Nanticoke is just so strong and skilled. And again, not a guy that does necessarily a ton in a given game. Like he and Fraser over on the right side aren't always making stuff happen, but boy, oh boy, when they do, it's really something. And then Josh Byrne.
Yeah, just the way he draws the
Oh, this is the
defense.
Nanticoke. Okay.
Yeah, but I kind of clipped all 3 angles because you see him really bring everybody away, and that's something that
Yeah.
most people don't notice in these games. Just being able to draw the defense away from the middle and hold him that extra step. That's all you need for a guy like Nanticoke to be able to, spin it
Yeah.
around and bury it. I know. Which one is this?
There's so many of them. Oh, this
Oh
is
my.
Byrne
Yeah.
just putting on a clinic. I mean, holy cow, the moves this kid's got, right?
Oh
Yeah,
my
I mean, he's a
goodness.
full grown man, but
Yeah, we say kid because to watch him run out there, he looks like a little kid just having fun. The way he just
he
makes
does.
everybody look at. I mean, that's on Brad Cree, right? And that's a great
Yeah,
defender, and he's got him spinning around and just kind of going, yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
Finalist for the NLL Defender of the Year award, and you just he has no hope the way that Byrne moves. Check out ilindoor.com. I actually have a feature going up as we're recording. It's going up tomorrow morning. It'll probably be up by the time the show comes out. In honor of Zed Williams being trying out with the Buffalo Bills as a linebacker and tight end. I did a all NLL NFL players list of picking players for each position, and Josh Burns my running back because look at these moves. Like
Oh my
this
goodness.
is
And
like
that's a
Barry
twister
Sanders
too.
stuff,
So
man.
I'm picking up him doing all that physically and just getting by Creed. But then when you look at look at the shot though, way on the up. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's so fast.
right. All of that doesn't create a great scoring chance for most people, but for Josh Byrne, oh yeah, that's a gimme,
Yeah.
right?
And there's the penalty by,
Yeah, Corey Small, and you can see afterwards he feels awful, and it's not much, but the guy's in the crease, he's got the ball, you touch him, it's a penalty. It's a very simple call. It's not a judgment call. Paul Dawson is about to complain. He looks at the ref. He's like, "You got it, okay, good." So they come down, and this play blows me away. The play that Josh Byrne makes because he's such a great shooter. That's part of why this all works. But he looks this entire time he looks at Dane Smith over on the righty shooter spot. The entire time that he's coming across the top, they're going to pass it around a bit. It's going to be about 8 seconds from now. They're going to score. So things will get going. Here's Byrne. He takes the ball, cuts down, little fake. You have to respect him. He comes across, little pick. That whole time, he is looking at Dane Smith over on the left of the screen. Chase Fraser is in the middle. And that look, the way he's looking at Dane Smith, look at Mitch Desnew. He knows that his other defender down in the crease has to watch Smith. Can't so can he leave Fraser? But if you go to Dane Smith, it's a ways. Like you better be covering him. You can see Smith is or Desnew is touching Chase Fraser. Look at the face. Look at Josh Byrne's face. It's aimed straight at Dane Smith. He
both
is
feet in the air
absolutely
too.
looking.
And he's going to
What's
throw
that?
plus he has both feet in the air again. So that's something like he's flying with all his
Yeah,
momentum going in the other direction
yeah.
and
And
just wow.
then this pass, and you can see Desnew takes a step over towards Dane Smith. And then when he does that and the pass is coming, Chase Fraser takes a step the other way. It looks like a big separation. Desnew was touching Chase Fraser as Josh Burns started to make that pass that he made it look like he was going to Dane Smith. That is, people talk about Dane Smith being a great passer, and for good reason. He's the best. I mean, he's had three straight. He's had the three highest assist totals in the NFL, in the NLL. I'm thinking NFL again, where I think he's the quarterback, but in the NLL, the last 3 seasons, he's incredible. But this is Josh Byrne, who everyone talks about in his goal scoring. This is an incredible, incredible play. Look at
Yeah.
the suit. He's on Fraser. He's
And,
right there touching him.
and here you can really see Byrne is looking straight across. He's not looking
Yeah,
at Fraser at all.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, even Desnew thought he's like this pass is going over to Dane and then they're going to try to
Yep.
kick it back inside to Fraser, but he did not think that pass was going there.
No. No, and by the time he gets back, it's like, oh, just it's way too late because Fraser does take that one step. And Byrne, there's the thing, Byrne makes the pass that draws Fraser into the open space away from Desnew, so he can't recover. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a perfectly seen, perfect vision, perfect execution, an unbelievable play.
Yeah, and you just
So
see it's always Priolo comes up with the ball, and
yeah,
he either hits
yeah,
Dane or uh, I'm sorry, Byrne off the bench. So it's either Dane Smith or Josh Byrne off the bench.
yeah. Depending
And,
on the quarter.
yeah, depending on it, and he just kind of comes here, does his little jog over, nice to Byrne, and just everybody on the defense is waiting for them to come through the middle. They've got their two guys there, a little two-man game, and
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And that, I mean, Fraser is smart. He takes advantage of that. He knows everyone has to watch Dane and Josh. You have to. You have to put a ton of coverage on them. So that leaves Fraser and Nanticoke and Chris Kluche, Brandon Robinson. They get some great opportunities
Yeah.
and they take advantage of them.
Oh my god. I
And
think
Kyle Buchanan.
yeah.
Can't forget Kyle Buchanan.
Well,
He scored
that's
3 goals in this game. He was huge.
and that's the thing though is when you watch the way I don't know if you could shut down Buffalo's offense. They did have a couple of cold streaks, but with Matt Vince back leading that defense, because I think even more than he makes the saves, just the leadership that he brings back there and the effect he
Yeah.
has, and it gets into these guys' minds. You could see it with Toronto; they just weren't shooting right by the end of the game. They're feeling like he's stopping everything.
Yeah.
But oh my
Yeah. You get in
goodness,
your head. This is another burn goal that's going as we talk here. I mean, just what a play, right? Like unbelievable. He is
Yeah.
so athletic, and he's a fiery leader for them. And I I'm just blown away by what Josh Byrne does right now on the lacrosse floor.
Yeah, I mean, and right here too, would you see him getting ready to run with that full head of steam? You
Yeah,
know, everybody is sitting there going, "Okay, has everybody got everybody?" And by the time he gets down low, you can't be flat-footed like that. Yeah,
no,
and what was that? 1 second, he turns his head for 1 second just to look and say, "Okay, you got him." And by the time he turns his head back, oh
yeah,
my goodness.
right. And that's Chris Corbeil, who had a rough start to the year because he was coming back off some injuries. He's playing like Chris Corbeil at this point. He's one of the all-time great defenders. I mean, look at that Toronto defense with Mitch Sisnew, Brad Creech, Alan Rogers, Chris Corbeil. You've got guys like Phil Mazuka playing very well. Just as a unit, they do amazing stuff. I think Josh Jubenville is a really underrated guy, which to me is why maybe the best coaching job in the NLL this season. And I know he's not eligible for the head coach of the year award, but and all respect to Matt Sawyer, but Bruce Codd, the Toronto defensive coach, unbelievable. What a job he has done. Bear in mind, they had Latrell Harris out the whole season with his ACL tear, right? I
Yeah.
mean, his knee injury. He's been gone. The reigning defender of the year in the NLL is gone, and they have this kind of season they did with Nick Rose setting the marks he did. Now Rose was fantastic. I think it's funny when people say he doesn't belong in the MVP conversation. Okay, it's mostly one person. Um, but I'm gonna have to have a chat with Mike Carvallis from the Daily Dive because he said it's comical that people have Rose up there ahead of Connor Fields. Well, if you look at everything, if you really dive into it, Connor Fields was fantastic, but it was the hardest MVP race to handicap to vote for that I ever recall being involved in. Having a vote for. And I'm not going to say at this point I can't say where my vote went, but I will tell you it's not ridiculous to have Nick Rose well up in that conversation.
No, and I don't know. I think there's certain guys, your goalies, your the guys that you count on every play. And I'm not saying Connor Fields is not worthy of being in the conversation,
Oh yeah,
but I just think when you have a goalie who has a year like that, and you look at how bad Toronto's offense struggled, but yet they maintained, and you look at all the guys they've gone through, like you said, their defensive coach should get a lot of credit. But getting through that, a lot of that has to do with Rose had a great year, and
he did. He
Vince
was fantastic.
had a very shaky year. Dougie had some injuries at the beginning. I think when it
Mhm.
comes to yeah, goalie of the year, I find it hard to I don't know because I always got to Jameson and he proved when he was out, but all that really did was make me excited for Getty for a young man to come in. He had a couple pretty good. He's no Dougie yet, and I'm not saying he's ready to be a starter, but I was
No.
very optimistic with the way Getty looked.
It's going to be really interesting, by the way, in Nanaimo this year, the Timbermen and the WLA, because they have their goaltending tandem is Devlin Shanahan and Justin Getty. The backups for these two teams, although Shanahan now is on the holdout list, he's not even dressing. He's not even on the active roster at this point. Steve Orleman has taken that over, but Shanahan was fantastic for Nanaimo last year. Justin Getty, a very good young goalie. But that Nanaimo roster, holy cow. Their right side is like Ryan Sheridan, Taggart Clark, and Colton Lidstone, and somebody else. And then the left side is Zach Mans, and they've got Jason Knox. They've got Jake Harrington, who you're going to know more about, is coming out to play on that left side. They are going to be awesome. And their defense is fantastic. I mean, they've got, I'm trying to think who plays there, Adam Wiedemann, Jarrett Smith with Saskatchewan, and
Plus, Mans played up at the Rush this year, and he I think had a great start of the year. I kind of fell off watching the Rush as the season went on, so I'm not sure how he finished, but I
oh, he
know
finished well. He had a great, not as hot as he started, but I mean, he was I think led the WLA in scoring last year. He
yeah.
was outstanding for Nanaimo. They are going to really be something. And, if Shanahan and Getty play well, I think they're right there with Langley, and I don't know what New West will be like this year. I know they're missing some guys, but WLA starts soon, and that's going to be a really exciting season on the West Coast.
Yeah, I am definitely ready for summer ball.
Yeah,
So here was two very different outcomes at the end of a shot clock is how I would say it. And it was
yeah,
funny. It was one of those I was watching it live and it looked completely different live than it does looking at the slow mo. And that's something that I
100%.
I always find funny.
Yeah, I sent you a text when we were watching during the game and said, "Hey, that Sturris penalty. Can we just make that a what was he doing moment in the show. Like, what are you thinking? And let's run the play here. And you see there's 11 seconds left in the shot clock. San Diego has the ball. Leo Sturris is right behind the net there, watching Curtis Dixon, comes out, stays with him, checks him there, takes a penalty. And we're thinking, there's 2 seconds left in the shot clock. He's over along the boards. What on earth? What a dumb play. Like, it just seemed like such a bad play. And now then we watch the replay, and you see Sturris is finishing his check. He gets close to hitting the arm, misses, and actually slashes Dixon in the leg. And that's where the penalty comes from. And I talked to Glenn Clark about it and said, were you guys just really mad at Leo for taking this? That just doesn't seem like a smart penalty. He said, no, we were okay with that. I mean, he's just fighting hard, finishing the play. And we talked about how, you think like, we're sitting there watching, and this is something I try to remember. And I think fans forget, and we forget. Like, I felt like, wow, what is this play? Why are you making this play with 2 or 3 seconds left in the shot clock? It's not a dangerous situation. And Glenn Clark said, one, they don't always know how long's left. It's so loud. They can't hear us yelling from the bench, and he's right over near the bench. There's a lot of noises, the fans and the music and everything. They can't hear what's going on. They might not know how long's left on the shot clock. They might not hear their teammates unless somebody has a chance to look at the shot clock. They know it's late, but they don't know how late. And you don't want to make the mistake of leaving Curtis Dixon to start a play or to finish a play late in the shot clock. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And Clark actually referenced a couple of plays earlier, and there was one that came up that we're going to look at now. And this is from the Toronto Buffalo game. And this is a play where it gets late in the shot clock and it doesn't look very dangerous, right? Can we pull that one up?
Oh yeah, I'm watching it. I don't know why I don't know why you
Okay,
weren't.
I'm
I was
like,
like, I nailed it, I think.
yeah, sure.
But yeah.
So back it up a bit. Back it up. Okay. So here's a shot Josh Byrne takes, and then back it up a bit more. Okay, so stop it there. You can see Byrne is about to shoot. He's over on the Cal Tire logo or whatever it is. On the far side of the floor from him, over to the far left, Kyle Buchanan, right there where the arrow is. He's there, and Mitch DeSnoo is watching him with the black tights. That's Mitch DeSnoo watching him right there. This is 8 seconds left in the shot clock. The time keeps ticking down, and you can see Toronto's got everyone pushed out. They're all in pretty good position. DeSnoo is watching Buchanan. As we run it a bit, Buchanan's going to go behind the net, and DeSnoo watches him. He's quite aware. The shot by Byrne goes off target, goes out, bounces almost to center. Stop it there for a sec. And you see, if we even back it up a little, Byrne gets this ball and immediately just wings it in there. And Mitch DeSoon, who was watching, and I think Mitch DeSoon may be the best defensive player in the league. I think he had a fantastic year again. He's a great player. He just kind of loses track of Kyle Buchanan. It's late in the shot clock. It doesn't seem like a dangerous situation. The ball is bouncing out near center, and it turns into a goal because Kyle Buchanan makes a veteran play, a very smart play. He's a brilliant player. He goes out, finds this little spot. He pops out, sees what's happening, cuts to the middle, spins back, gets a shot and scores. And that's a huge goal. That gets things rolling gets things spreading a bit more. Buffalo's, but they're up 4-0. That makes it 5-0. And this is just after the play that we talked about with earlier with Chris Boucher going in there and then getting out of the crease, not challenging because they'd already used to challenge the whole thing for Toronto, where it could have been 3-1. It's 4-0. This makes it 5-0. And that's a play late in the shot clock where Toronto just doesn't play a full 30. And that was the point that Glenn Clark made to me was you have to play a full 30 seconds. And they had no problem with Leo Sturris. I mean, you don't want to take a penalty, but they had no problem with the effort he made, with the play he made. It just worked out that he took a penalty. And that's going to happen sometimes when you're playing tough defense. And that was a real lesson for me to remember. Not everything you see is as clear to the players on the floor as it is to us. We're sitting there watching on a screen from our chair, our couch, whatever, or the seat in the stands. And, we can see the shot clock. We can look at whoever we want. He has to focus on Curtis Dixon in that situation. And that's something I think is a great reminder for all of us, that all these things that happen on the floor are way faster and way more difficult than we remember. And I think it's a good lesson to not give players too hard of a time with things. People love to rip on players and on refs and everything, but I'll tell you, that's a play that when I saw it, I was like, what are you thinking? And after I'm like, oh no, you know what? That's a pretty good play that just went poorly at the end.
Yeah, and actually, I've got a chance. I'm going to sit with Leo tomorrow for about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to do an interview, and I'm definitely going to ask him about that because he got more penalty minutes last week, I think, than he has most of the season combined.
Really?
Yeah, like if I actually, I should have checked that stat before I said it, but it was, he does not usually take a lot of penalties. He gets under guys' skin. He will
Yeah,
get a
he
couple
annoys the
here
hell
and
out of me.
right, and he will get a couple here and there for his
Yeah,
troubles, but usually he's pretty good at avoiding it. And
yeah,
for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out that well against San Diego. I think they had a lot of little tricks up their sleeve. I think where you're going to see Sturo shine is in this Buffalo series. The way he pisses them off and the
yeah,
way that offense plays, I think it's just a recipe for success for him.
yeah. Especially as the Albany Fire, the Albany power play has really started to click. It was terrible early in the year, right? I mean, they had what, 9 power plays against Las Vegas early in the year, didn't score,
They
but
gave
it's
up two
clicking.
shorthanded goals. They were the
Yeah,
only NLL power play that was like a
right,
plus minus negative. It was
right.
just
Insane. So it's really clicking. I think that'll make a big difference. And it's interesting on the call with the Bandits players and coaches. One thing that John Tavares was saying was that, and I think Steve Friola might have echoed the same thing, saying, you can play really well against Albany, anybody, but especially Albany, because they keep moving, they keep coming at you. It's like they're so unorthodox. You just don't know what they're going to do, and you can play 27 seconds of great defense and give up a goal in those last 3 seconds. And that's exactly what we saw with Buchanan on that pass from Josh Byrne, where Toronto just kind of relaxed a bit with 3 seconds to go on the shot clock, or 2 seconds, when it looked like it wasn't dangerous, which is why you always play. You hear that play to the buzzer, play to the end of the play. That's why.
yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And when you look at it, it doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a play. It goes off the plexiglass to snooze like, oh, it's bouncing out. Maybe they'll stop it from being an over and back and just kind of throw it back down. But definitely
Yeah,
wasn't thinking that. And I tell you, this game, I think that's why this sport is so entertaining, though, is because plays
yeah,
like that with 2 seconds, it looked like nothing was happening. And then next thing you know, you're on the edge of your seat. So
100%.
yeah, thank you so much for your time as always. This will not be the last show. I would imagine we're going to do a wrap up show, maybe one more. We'll see how it goes, but I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. It's been a blast this season. I've definitely learned a lot, especially some of the like I would say the biggest thing I learned I didn't know going into this season that I found from these hidden highlights was that players aren't allowed to just smack the ball into the net. I didn't know that was a rule.
okay, right. The Chad Pettin one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was Tutton and Hogarth, I think. Was it Hogarth for Calgary?
yeah, Hogarth
But
had
yeah,
another one where you have to control the ball, and yeah, no, there's all kinds of little nuances. I mean, it's funny, like the Bushi reestablishing outside. That was actually a change to the rules. It used to be 1 foot outside, and then it was changed several years ago. So you had to be both feet reestablished outside, but it wasn't in the rule book at first. It was in the position paper, or the paper that the update that they give the officials through the season. Like, oh, you have to be both feet. So there was a big play in a game was actually Colton Watkinson was involved, and in Saskatchewan, and I was like, whoa, he reestablished. There's a shot. You see in the video replay, his foot is back outside the crease, and that's when I found out it was 2 feet. And then the next season, it was changed in the rule book. It was the one of the bold bits in the rule book that it said, you have to have both feet back outside. But no, there's so many little nuances that you know, and it's interesting. Like, you look at all the various facets of things. I'll give you one other thing that John Tavares said, because I had written in my column last week. I thought that it would make sense for Buffalo to not dress Connor Farrell for the finals, and to have an extra defender, have an extra pair of fresh legs, because Albany's so fast. It's going to be back-to-back nights. They're young and fast, constantly pushing. I was like, you might need that extra pair of legs, because Farrell doesn't really play defense. And I asked John Tavares what he thought of me. He said, well, I think Connor's done a great job for us. And he said, I really like to take that burden off of someone else. Because I mean, you think about the people who've taken faceoffs for you: Nick Weiss,
exhaust them.
Chase
McKay. Yeah.
Fraser, right? Like, yeah, do you want Dane Smith taking faceoffs? No. You don't want these people to be worn out taking the faceoffs. So that's why it's even more remarkable that Jake Withers and Joe Nardella are such good defensive players while they're expending all that energy on faceoffs. But he said, no, we like, I mean, I don't know, who knows, maybe depending how things go Friday, if they feel they need the fresh leg. He was saying, maybe Justin Robinson comes in or Sam LaRue. Those are their guys who are going to stretch. But you know, that to me was a fascinating one where he said, "Hey, I don't want to have that burden on them. I'd rather somebody who's taken the face-offs and can put all his energy into that, and that saves us some energy for the other defenders." And that's why John Tavares and Glenn Clark and these guys are some of the great lacrosse minds in the game. I mean, that's why they're running these teams, and we're sitting back and trying to think what maybe they should have done, from a distance.
No, I actually knew that one. So, Zach Courier, Owen, OJ the dude had talked to Zach Courier, and he said that was one of the biggest things when he was taking faceoffs is how physically exhausting it is that you don't even realize until like you're in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, I am like gas, my forearm,
Yeah,
like everything is just,
yeah.
and it's like, oh man. But yeah, again, thank you so much, Stamper. I really appreciate you taking the time this season, and we will see you at Friday in Albany.
You betcha. Sounds great. Can't wait.